Everybody, welcome back into Roosters. It is a fun, casual joint. It is time for a fun, casual chat in the Horseshoe Lounge. We have Zach Boren back.
Hey.
Justin Zwick. I think he's trying to get the beard back.
I shaved again today. I said I got to see Nicole today.
Just comes in so quickly.
It does. It looks nice.
And
it looks so nice.
And Nicole Cox over here. I am Austin Ward. We'll have Berm. Maybe we'll get Bill in here later. I don't know. He's got, I think, some beer going right now.
Yeah, a little upset.
Trying to get over what happened. Oh, no, that's water. I shouldn't say that.
Vodka. Straight.
Well, if it is, I can't tell the difference. It's clear. Tough end. Was that a holding call, Zach? Let's just talk about the officials. That's what we love to do.
Was it? There's two questions to it. Was it a holding call or should it have been called? Was it a holding call? Yes, but I hate the NFL officiating as it is. But throughout the year, that's a holding call. But in that situation, no. I'm a firm believer that almost there should be a different set of rules between regular season and postseason play in the NFL because things are so touchy. You know, the holding, the hands, everything from the state. You could call hands to the face or illegal touching, whatever you want, every play in the NFL if you really wanted to. But when you get to the playoffs, especially at that point in the Super Bowl, when you know you make that call, the game's over, you cannot make that call. You just can't.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I think in every play, like Zach's talking about, you could call something. There's going to be a here, there. You know, it is what it is. But as a referee in that situation, you know, if I throw this flag, this game is over. I just decided the game for them. You know, they played for 60 or 58 minutes. I just decided the game because, you know, was it? Yeah, the guy came out and even said, yeah, you know, I tugged him. Now, was it something that, you know, kept him from, it's just one of those plays. It wasn't so egregious. A few years ago, you had a guy get tackled while the ball was in the air. And
if it's a bad holding call, I get it. You have to make it.
100%.
But it's not like it was a bad call.
If they wouldn't have thrown it, nobody would be like, oh, hold on here. Let's go back and look at this. If he didn't throw it,
but even with the ball being thrown, that little tug had no deciding factor on whether he was catching the ball or not. That's where I have the issue, right? Yeah. It's not like it was such a close call where the ball was Pat Mahomes was under pressure. Pat Mahomes threw the ball where it was completely uncatchable. And the little tug that even occurred had no outcome of that guy catching the ball or not. I mean, if he had never touched him, Juju Smith wasn't catching the ball.
It still was the same. Exactly. And you see, like, in the NBA, and maybe not in the NBA, but in basketball, like, you swallow the whistle, right? Yeah. You don't blow that whistle. You let the players decide. And if they don't throw that flag, they kick a field goal, Eagles have a minute and a half. Who wouldn't have wanted to watch that? Yep. Down 3, Eagles have the ball a minute and a half, enough time to maybe go do something. You know, like, you let the players decide. Yeah. You don't throw that flag and take that away from everybody. But, you know, it was probably in the script because we found out, a week and a half ago, you know, there's a script every year before the NFL season starts. And, you know, that's probably how it went.
They used the same one from last year's Super Bowl, deciding the game on a defensive holding. Yeah. Nicole, did that take the air out of the party last night?
Yes, I would say I was already in bed during that. I heard my phone buzz though and then I got the rundown this morning following up on everything. But I did notice this morning it felt like the confetti looked like it was the Chiefs colors, red and gold, which I thought about, and I don't know if they have 2 sets of confetti or
or they just knew.
They just knew. And
you saw Roger giving hugs out after the game. Man, he looked like he won the damn game.
He's happy.
Here's the other thing that I've got an issue with, and goes back to the officiating. The game the entire time was called, hey, let the guys play. There were hardly any penalties called in that game where you saw the touchiness, where refs can, even the hits on the quarterback. There were a couple hits on the quarterback where, hey, they landed on top of the quarterback. Could have been roughing the passer, right? But guess what? They swallowed their whistle. It's exactly what they should have done. And then they make a call under the 2-minute warning like that. So that's where I don't know. I just don't get it when you actually are officiating the game the proper way for 58 minutes, and then with 2 minutes left, it's like...
I want to Austin's point, last year it happened. It's like, so why on the biggest stage for your company do you want that to be the focal point after the game, right? Like, everybody... Bad call. I don't know about that call. They gave the cheat. That's what people were talking about right after the game. That's not what you want on that stage. I don't know how you fix it. I don't know, because these guys aren't full-time employees of the NFL, right?
Well,
I know it's
we had this
changed over the
discussion.
years.
We've had this discussion. There are some, and there are some that
They
aren't.
need to all be that way.
Yes.
They all need to be, and they need to be held accountable to where, hey, you missed this call or you blew this call at this stage, and you're fine.
Because it affects everything.
It affects everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
The sports
The way
betting.
people are remembered. Yeah.
Everything. And, the way you won the Super Bowl. I mean, is that the way the Chiefs wanted to win the Super Bowl?
Well, they don't care about that down the road, but,
Yeah.
But how people are remembered, Jalen Hurts, maybe he doesn't even make it back to the Super Bowl. Maybe that was his one chance. Now you have Mahomes. He has two all of a sudden. It changes a lot of trajectory for people's history or legacies that they want to leave.
Can we also touch on one more thing?
Absolutely, we can.
It's a fun, casual conversation.
Commercials were terrible. I get so excited about the commercials. I hate commercials besides one day a year, Super Bowl. I'm so excited for the commercials. Terrible.
Yeah, I mean,
What'd you think
terrible. Guess what? Bud Light only had one. There was no Anheuser-Busch, if I remember right. There was no Doritos, if I remember right.
there was a
There was
Doritos.
Doritos.
It was
Oh,
weird,
was it?
though.
It was
a
weird. It was like
triangle.
a triangle thing. It was
Oh,
strange.
you're
Yeah,
right.
it was
It was.
the
You're right.
musical
The
play
yeah.
on it. But
Whoever that,
Okay, correct.
the gray guy from College Game Day. What's his name?
yeah.
That's how memorable.
Okay, so, but just the commercials. In
They had
general.
one that where the dog lived the entire life of a woman.
I got.
I mean, from
I
a
was
kid
very-
to.
I don't know if that's what the theme of it was.
Well, I understand,
Yeah,
but I'm sitting there. I'm
woman,
sitting there
JC.
saying
That wasn't the theme.
It wasn't
I
a
don't
body
think.
swap.
that
situation.
that girl had the dog when it was a puppy.
Yeah.
She's now married and pregnant. That dog's not alive anymore. You'd have been through one or two dogs by the time she'd have got to that point.
Don't worry though, guys.
That's where my head was.
I was
I'm
going more for comedy.
I'm like,
Jay-Z
there's no
went
way
straight
this
to-
dog
Allie-
lived that entire time. I'm
Allie
sorry.
Allie started crying.
Oh
I-
gosh, no.
I did too.
I'm like,
and
it's
I
not
bought some of the
realistic.
dog food. So
Yeah.
I really
It went over me then. 'Cause I'm
I
just
was
like,
just-
that dog.
the woman.
That
It was
dog's
a Freaky
dead.
Friday
It
situation.
was definitely a play on the dog food, Jay-Z.
Yeah,
but
well,
okay. Okay.
I really.
I'm sitting there like, well, they put gray in his beard, but he still wouldn't be alive right
You
now.
guys, I was
that
just
girl's
so
24
relieved
years
the dog
old.
didn't die.
Yeah.
I was like, if this dog dies in this commercial, I'm gonna lose my mind.
I guess that would have taken the commercial in a different route if
Yeah.
they had to have a funeral for the
I
dog.
think the dog was sad because it's immortal and it was going to outlive that woman.
dog was beyond precious.
and the baby. I don't know.
Beyond
That's what I took out
Okay.
of that one. So they were pretty bad, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know.
the
Hey,
commercial.
we remembered the commercial.
Yeah, you remember.
So and we discussed.
I didn't know what it
commercial's
was
bad.
for, though. I just remember thinking,
food.
there's no way that dog lives.
I mean, what about the rabbit hole one too? That
Oh.
3 different times when it was Tubi, right, or whatever it was.
yeah, it's
going
like,
down. Yeah, going down.
Come
a rabbit
down and
hole.
watch all the movies.
Yeah, I'm like,
maybe I need
oh,
to get into that one.
rabbit hole. It's like, this is bad.
I wasn't sure where the rabbit hole was
Yeah,
going.
I'm trying
but
to think what I would even consider the best of those commercials.
They
last
brought
night.
The
back
best
the
one-
E-Trade babies.
Yeah,
back,
the
which
E-Trade
was cute.
babies. I saw that.
I missed
My favorite was probably the girl with the flag football that couldn't be.
Oh,
that
yeah, they couldn't grab her. Yeah.
couldn't
She
grab
gets
her.
home to mom, and even
and
mom
the
tries.
Yeah. But other than that,
yeah.
I'm like, Bud Light, you Anheuser-Busch always makes an
Typically.
appearance with the Clydesdales. Didn't happen, right?
Mhm.
Bud Light normally has got another good one in there. And it was whatever his name dancing with his wife
Miles-
when the
Miles
Miles
Teller.
Teller.
Mhm.
Miles Teller with his wife while the phone's on hold. I'm like, come on.
Yeah. Miller Coors was.
I liked that they
Interesting.
did it together.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
That one caught
I've
me off
never
guard a
seen
little.
that.
And then it was like Blue Moon.
Yeah.
How about that?
Surprise.
Yes.
You also own this beer
Exactly.
Yeah.
and
That was
almost
pretty
everything
cool.
else you drink.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's just go.
And
What do we-
Rihanna's pregnant.
Well, yeah, out of 10.
Oh, yeah.
How did Rihanna do on a scale of 1 to 10?
Well, I will say
She has to be pregnant, right? I mean,
I confirmed it this morning.
Yeah.
I saw it, and because the whole time
Checking
she
the
was
tabloids.
performing,
Yeah.
all I could think was, "Is she pregnant?" That's all we talked about. We're like, "She's got to be. She has to be."
See, I
Didn't
was
even
like, man,
enjoy
that
it.
baby weight's hard to get off.
Yeah,
That's what I thought because
See,
she.
leave it to Jay-Z, man.
Well, I mean, it's hard to get off. I know.
It was
You
not
know?
a positive day in the
I don't
joint
know.
household.
But,
Yes.
I don't know, but I see my wife, going after it, trying to get rid of baby weight, and I'm like, that's what I first thought.
yeah.
But-
I know.
No,
I know.
she's just pregnant again.
And
She
she's
is.
pregnant again.
She's pregnant
So it's
again.
going to be doubly hard.
Yeah.
And I also was really nervous about how high up the stage she was standing on. I was like, "That's intense." And it looks a little
Yeah.
bit dangerous and
It did look a little
unnecessary.
dangerous.
They could stay on the ground, don't you think?
okay. So what did you give it out of 10, Nicole?
I love Rihanna, so I'll just give it a 9.
A 9.
Mhm.
A 9 banger for Rihanna.
Last
she
year,
got a lot
you
of
can't
hits.
top last year though. Last year
Yeah,
was
last
the
year was
best
elite.
halftime show ever with Eminem, Snoop
Yeah.
Dogg, 50
Dr. Dre.
Cent,
Dr.
and it's
Dre.
Yeah, Rihanna was good. She's got. I love her music. She's got
I do too.
some bangers and like
Bangers.
like those are my college days. Like that.
That's
was,
the thing. She hasn't put out new music in a long
in a
time,
while,
right?
But like when I was in college, like those were
Riri.
the
They're
hit.
still my favorite.
Yeah. I thought it was actually really, really good. The one thing that I've got a somewhat problem with is I think it was a lip sync the whole thing,
yeah.
and
From
I
right
don't
off the
think
jump.
and I don't think it matched up very well. But just from the music playing, just from everything that's going
the
on,
vibe was cool.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. And come on, let's be honest. Normally in a halftime show, there's going to be a lot of lip singing. There's going to be
a lot of dancing.
Yeah, a lot of dancing, things like that. I think she crushed it from that standpoint. I just think at that stage, it should be pretty on from your lips matching up to the music.
That was my problem.
And I thought it was off a little bit.
Right from
Just
the
a little
she
bit,
wasn't even trying in the first. Like,
Yeah.
I understand she's, as Nicole said, 100 feet in the air. That's probably nerve-wracking. You're not paying the most attention. But she wasn't even putting the microphone up to her lips. She was just like...
And she did all of it while being pregnant. I mean, that's,
Props for that.
Yep.
Props for that.
Do we know how far along she is?
No, it looked kind of far.
Yeah, it looked kind of far. But
Looked
she just
kinda
had a kid,
far.
last in
April or something.
Everybody had...
Yeah.
It was May, I found out.
Oh, was it?
That's what
May, okay.
everyone in the world was
Yeah.
Googling. Is
May.
Rihanna pregnant?
All I could think was if she is not pregnant, I feel so bad for her that's all everyone's talking
Oh,
about.
it's kind of one of those things like you never ask
Yeah.
a woman if she's pregnant.
Yeah.
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 Okay,
Huh.
aside from
would've
Rihanna,
been- that
aside
would've
from
been tough.
Rihanna, and I actually liked the halftime performance. I thought the ambiance was great. Chris Stapleton,
Oh,
best national
Oh,
anthem I think I've ever
absolutely.
heard.
Absolutely.
Ever heard. I'm like, oh my god, I didn't know.
I just got goosebumps you talking about it. It was incredible.
best national
crushed
anthem
it.
ever.
yeah,
Mhm.
that was good. I was excited to see him go, and man, he
Brought
brought it.
Yeah, I looked at Rachel when he started. I'm like, oh my god,
That was good.
Now, was it over or
Unbelievable.
under? Because
It was
I've seen
over. It was
different.
I think it
over.
was way over.
it was over.
It was way over.
It was
by
like
2 seconds. That's what I thought.
No, not 2 seconds. No, it was
Oh,
like
no?
2 minutes and like 12 seconds. I think the over under was like at 150 something.
Oh, I thought
I
it was
think he-
205.
I think
Yeah, no.
you just have to go out there and place a huge wager on yourself to go over.
And then just
yeah.
Add in a
hold
couple
on to
guitar licks.
every. Yeah.
And I think you did that. That's smart. Just
That is smart.
bet on yourself, they say. The other, we're going to talk about Ohio State football. Excuse me, I promise in this show. But we're wrapping up. It's the end of the
Speaking
football
of that, it was
season.
kind of wild that there wasn't an Ohio State guy. I mean, I know Trey is on, I think he's practice
it's
squad.
pretty rare.
But that was actually pretty remarkable that there wasn't a guy out there from Ohio
Yeah.
State based off of all the guys we have in the NFL who are killing it.
It's more notable when it doesn't happen
Yeah.
than when it
Exactly.
does at this time.
Yeah.
So Nicole's party was having an argument about what it's called when the scoreboard is shown on your screen. I knew the answer. And I
Do you
wanted
guys know
to
the
lend a
answer?
hand. Do you guys know what the TV graphic is called that shows the score on
at the
your television?
bottom.
I didn't even know it's called anything. It's
So you're not alone. It's not rare.
Okay, so my son, very first thing he says when the thing comes on, he goes, "Oh, is that going to be the new scoreboard?" He's like, "I hate it. I don't like it." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And we're all like dying laughing. He goes, "It's too big." And then we started looking at it. We're like, "It is kind of big. It's kind of covering up some of the players." It was so big. And so then I was like, "What is that called?" And we were all debating back and forth. And I just texted Austin, and it's called the score bug. Did you guys know that at the
You're
bottom?
just talking about the corner?
Well,
It was in
wherever
the
it can be.
center. Yeah.
Fox made the first one. They used to put it in the top left corner. That was their revolutionary addition to television broadcasts. You guys are all. I mean, Zach's
Look
way
at your
too young.
faces. I love it.
They didn't used to
Who
have
would
that.
even know that
in the mid
fact?
'90s. I don't know.
Well, what was even funnier, my son.
dude. I
pulled
grew up ever since I've started. Remember watching TV in 1994 or 1995, whatever it was. I had it.
Well, right when Fox, that's when they took over that contract.
Huh.
Put it on TV. They
The score,
So it's an unfair question to me.
the score bug.
I wasn't trying to trick anybody. I
And
just thought it was a more
I didn't
commonly known
think.
term.
Yeah, I didn't think it was abnormally large because I think I would have noticed it if
Yeah, I
it
don't
was.
think
I just think
God caught
it was
that
interesting.
either.
So my son pulls up on YouTube. He goes, "Look up the Minnesota Miracle." Is that what it was?
Yeah, when they beat New
Minneapolis.
Orleans. Yeah.
And he goes, "This is the one I like." And literally, it's just a thin bar at the bottom with both scores. And I was like, I like that you notice things like that.
Simplicity. That's good.
And it was very simple. But then I couldn't stop looking at it the whole game. I was like, it really is taking up a lot of room.
Huh.
so.
I
The
know.
score bug.
The score bug.
Yep.
What did
And-
everybody else think it was called?
Well, it was scoreboard, and then I think that's as far as we got.
Okay.
That's as far as we
I
got.
thought there must have been a more heated conversation based on the text that I got.
It was. I needed to know.
Score
I needed
bug.
to know. I needed to really hype up that text because I was really
Score bug.
fired
That
up
sounds
about
like
what
a
the
weird name. I feel like you could get a better name.
He sent me the
Score
definition
bug.
too, and truly, that it has a full definition, and it's exactly what it is at the bottom of the TV.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just
Learn something new every day.
I'm
Yeah,
just
in
saying.
Austin, how long have you known that?
I don't know. I guess I've been in sports media too long that I know what those things are called.
Score bug.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I didn't even pay attention to it.
It's just something that's there. I didn't know it had a name.
Yeah, my son stressed that that's what the whole season's going to look like
Right.
next year. That's the official layout of
Yeah.
that.
Roll it
And
out.
does it?
Yeah.
Do they roll it out at the Super Bowl for
Yeah.
what it's?
That's
Which
like-
is even more weird that he knows that.
So they spend a ton of time working on it. It's like, we are going to have 15 new graphics packages. We're going to put them out for the Super Bowl. That's because they spend.
And that's
they know,
what the following year is.
Yeah, because that's what they know when they have the rights to the Super Bowl. Like, we have a year to get ready, and then everyone's going to be watching. So let's do our best, folks. Let's make this the juiciest bug you've ever seen.
Hey, guarantee
Gotcha.
you watch a game now. That's all you're going to see.
Yeah.
It was big. It had a ton of stats, but I like having that up there. But
Huh.
Yeah.
I don't know. I did
It
not
was
notice
just
that.
it's high. Like it just takes up more room at the bottom than it used to.
it sure does.
I think
So it needs to fit more
people's
snug.
eyesight's getting worse and worse, so they wanted something bigger so people could see it. You know,
I
Bigger's
can see
typically
that.
better.
it's about inclusion of everyone. So
If-
people that can't even see well and older people, you know, they want to.
And I
Yeah.
think everybody has these big TVs nowadays,
No
so
doubt.
let's just take up a little bit more room down here. Put
No
some
doubt.
stats.
Hey,
Hey.
that definitely could have been the thought behind it.
Hey,
Bigger
Jay-
TVs.
Jay-Z, what's in that basket right in front of you?
Well, I'll tell you what's in this basket. I haven't had a chance
you
to
haven't
eat one
started
yet
yet? Oh, okay.
because we started talking before they came. But these are mozzarella sticks, and they are delicious.
And they're the featured
And
appetizer tomorrow.
They are the featured appetizer. You can come in tomorrow, $3 at every Roosters location.
Appetizer
$3,
Thursday.
make it holla for some mozz sticks.
That name hasn't caught on yet. Appetizer Thursday.
I like it. I like it though.
Okay.
I do.
What else is going on at Roosters?
That's it, guys. Getting
Roosters
through
was
this-
packed yesterday. I went in, got our order about 12:30 up on Sawmill. Man,
Got 20% off?
booming business. Got
Packed.
20% off for the Super
Did you
Bowl.
do
It was
the early
great.
bird?
We did the early bird, but man, it was packed in there, and good for you guys.
Huge thank you
Lot
to
of
all
wings.
of our. I mean, it's all hands on deck on
was
Super
a-
Bowl
it was a
Sunday, and
good day.
everybody
Oh, yeah.
did such a great job. So, just a huge thank you to our entire team at all of our stores. It was
awesome.
It's a big day.
Walked in, boom, Zwick, boom, get some
Awesome.
ranch. They went back and got it. Boom. It was easy peasy, lemon squeeze.
Did they give you like a gallon of ranch? Or did
Well, I asked. And I said, I know Nicole. And usually that works. But they were
No.
so busy, it didn't work that.
So no, ranch is limited.
You
Yes,
can
right.
get-
No, they did give me ranch, just not
You
the
can
big.
get a squeeze bottle of ranch
I
or
know.
a jar of
I
ranch.
have. Before,
Okay.
Yeah, it's delicious. It actually,
It's so
the,
good.
the squeeze bottle is really
It's
nice
the
because you can
best.
just take your wing,
Ooh.
squeeze it right on. It's
I like that.
Wow.
yeah.
That's
Actually, can we put?
Professional
Can we
tip.
ask a question?
Yes.
Okay.
When are the chips coming back?
No.
I mean, no.
No,
Okay.
not that. No, this is a topic of conversation. Actually, I ate in Roosters last Saturday,
Thank you.
and we started having a debate at the table. Is the ranch homemade?
yes.
I believe that.
Mhm.
100% believe
whose house?
It's like
Nicole's house?
that. I'm coming over.
I swear it
Each
could be.
location.
There was a debate that like it's the best
It's
ranch
something-
ever,
it
and
is the
like
best.
whatever you dip in it, it just automatically makes it better. And so there was a debate whether it was homemade or it was a type of brand that obviously was brought in. You know, with
Yeah, it makes
No,
sense.
it's
On the
made
way there,
fresh.
my dad goes, "Oh, we don't have ranch. You guys do though, right?" I said, "Yes, but I will be ordering some at Roosters because it is the best ranch."
Thanks, guys.
In the
you
city.
can't. Yeah, you
Our
can't
blue
use
cheeses
Nah,
as well.
I mean,
But
ranch.
it's either you like blue cheese or
Yeah,
you don't.
100%.
Correct.
I agree with you. On
You're either a blue cheese or ranch person.
are,
You're
yeah.
not. You're
Yes.
not both.
No,
Mhm.
you're not.
No.
So there you go.
I could go either way.
And you guys
Could
could
you?
do. You guys could try
I
the.
always knew that about you, Austin.
Um,
Always-
I'll
always-
try anything twice.
Wait,
Jay-Z.
what don't you like?
I'll have blue cheese or ranch.
I
No,
know.
he-
I like
whatever
both
the
too.
mood strikes.
Really?
Yeah, I like both. And
Oh,
right now,
no.
preparing
Yeah,
for
no,
the
I
cruise,
can't
I'm
do
eating Greek yogurt ranch, which isn't as
Oh,
good.
oh,
But
my wife's
yeah.
been ordering that. I haven't tried it.
Yeah, it's what you have to do when you get older.
Yeah. After this past weekend, I better go full blown.
I know, me too, yeah.
It's crunch time, guys.
Yeah,
Crunch
trying
time.
I'm
Oh.
getting mad
Running out
that
of-
I didn't get my six pack in
Running
2
out
weeks.
of time for that.
Oh,
That's why Bobby's missed the show the last couple of weeks. He's
Oh, yeah.
training to make sure that he's
100%.
No doubt.
physical
Yes.
form.
Running on the beach.
yeah.
Mhm.
I'm sure. And Nicole, You have to go. I'm sorry. You get to go do the Chris Holtman show again.
I do.
The coaching show.
Which I might add that Chris Holtman is the nicest. His team, they're great, and
nice guy.
I feel bad that the season's going the way it's going. It's almost like I don't know.
How are those meetings on Mondays? I mean, do they get after him a little bit, or are they pretty nice to him? I guess I haven't tuned in.
I think they're nice to him. They ask him questions, and
they ask him tough
answers.
stuff. Yeah.
Yes, and he answers.
Today's gonna be rough. 14 points at
14 points at halftime.
He scored 41 points yesterday.
No, but 14 at halftime.
But it's like,
I mean, dude, you
So
go to a
bad.
local high school game and they're scoring more than 14 points.
Bill,
No.
that's the lowest point total since what? 1897?
Yeah.
No, stop. No.
90.
Don't you think that? Have you
1996 or 1896?
Have you guys ever been to a game when you feel like it's a jinx where every shot you go for literally like spins into the basket and then comes back out? I feel like that's like kind of happening. You know, I feel like
I will say,
that could
I
be
feel
a
like
thing.
they've, when I've watched, all right, that was an open shot. That was an open shot. Okay. But they're just not going in, you know? It's tough.
Something's missing from this team,
Well-
and I'm not one to talk bad by any means, but just something's missing. And down this stretch, you've seen it. The offensive stats are awful, right? When you're not making shots and you are on a cold streak, you make up for it one way, playing good defense.
Mhm.
And the defense is not there. And it's almost like they're acting lazy on the defensive side of the ball because they're so upset about not scoring points on offense. And it's just they're mentally beat right now.
I
And that's
agree
the
with
worst part. Guess what? If you're not going to go out and be on fire, and guess what? You're on a stretch where things just aren't going your way offensively. You better buckle up and
Well,
play
you
defense.
buckle up and you take the ball to the hole.
Oh,
Let's stop shooting the ball.
you take the ball to the hole, but you play
But you
defense
play
and you
defense,
say,
yes.
hey,
'Cause
we're
that's
going to
one
play with a
thing
little
you
chip
can-
on our
yeah.
shoulder.
So, guys,
Right.
I have a question. Now, you might not have had to be part of this because you've always been on really good teams, but when you get into a downward spiral as bad as this, and the worse it gets mentally, the harder it gets because you're just like, it's like the Michigan game where it's like, we've got to beat them because we lost last year.
Yeah.
And then I think they got too much in their heads of just putting the pressure on. And now I feel like I can't imagine what the team's feeling. How do you get out of that?
So I'm going to answer
Yeah,
this
you go.
honestly, but from my standpoint is that my junior year, we were on a bad team, right? The difference with football is when you are not doing well on offense and you're in a rut, you don't control the defense, right? New set of players are on the field with defense. So it's not like you're going back and forth between offense and defense. So you're trying everything to kind of perfect that craft. Difference in basketball is you're playing offense and defense. You're going up and down the court, and you've got some say on
It's
both
all on
sides.
you, yeah.
It's kind of all on you from that standpoint. So I think it's a little bit different from a football standpoint to basketball standpoint. But I know, that in 2011, my junior year, I mean, it's tough. You're trying to do everything to do well
Be
and obviously
perfect.
play well and be perfect, right? But then it's challenging too because then there starts to become some finger pointing, like, hey, defense let up this many points, but offense, you didn't score these many points. And so there's a different team dynamic when you have that many people and you've got people who are just on the offense side of the ball and just on defense side of the ball. Whereas in basketball, I think it's a much smaller team. I'm not defending football, but I feel like in basketball, those runs and those dips should be a lot less than what they are right now for Ohio State because it's a small group of guys. You got 15 guys in the locker room, right? And you got probably really 8, 9, maybe 10 guys who are really playing, and those guys are controlling the entire game. So,
But that's that much less support of somebody that can be stronger, if that makes sense. When you have a bigger team, you have more guys that may feel not as much pressure that can bring you up out of a slump, whereas it's just all on them. I don't know. It's just interesting. And I just feel for them because I can't imagine how much harder every time they lose, like
tough.
how much worse they feel and how they can get themselves out of
I
that.
think it probably also tells you how close or not close that locker room chemistry is because Chris Holtman coming out in the middle of this funk and saying we're going to revote for captains
Yeah, that's strange.
tells you that they're probably not rallying together the way that they should. and that there may be finger pointing and certainly leadership that they wanted to change. Right? So that's
that was
that's
an
not
interesting.
good.
Yeah.
I don't remember ever seeing that happen.
Well, two things. One is when Chris Holtmann got ejected last Thursday against Wisconsin, or 2 Thursdays ago, whatever. Yeah, 2 Thursdays ago. That should have been the point where the players looked at one another and been like, "Hey, all right, our coach got ejected. If you would have seen anything from this team of any kind of fight, or the locker room was like tight knit, they would have come out swinging. And yes, they made a little bit of a comeback against Wisconsin, but for how close they would get, then they would just Wisconsin.
Now, in all
pull
fairness, we do have 10 new guys on the team, right? So
yeah,
it's their first season together. It takes some time to really gel. And it's probably even that much harder when things aren't going well. It's easy. It's always easy to gel and have a great team atmosphere when you're winning, right? So, I mean, they're still learning and doing things. And 5 freshmen, 5 transfers. Is that correct?
something like that.
Something along those lines. So, I mean, they're meshing, trying to get it together, trying to figure out what works, and it's just not gone well for them, unfortunately.
I also think if you're on a positive side, at some point you have to hit rock bottom. I think Sunday they hit rock bottom. 14 points and a half. I'm pretty sure that's rock bottom, right? It's got to be.
Pretty close. I don't want to see it.
I
if
love
it's
that
not.
that's the positive side.
It is. At some point you have to hit rock bottom. You have to.
I can see that too.
Yeah.
In a sense that it's like, okay, enough's enough.
It's not going to get much worse, guys. He scored 14 last
That's
week
it.
in the first half.
Okay.
And maybe that helps alleviate some of the pressure. Like now we can only go up,
I'll tell you what, though. The guys in next year's class that are coming in, some of them are some monsters. Devin Royal from Pickerington Central, hometown guy, love it. The dude's a monster. The dude can play. So they've got some good guys coming.
Help is on the way.
The other kid. They got the kid from Florida, right? Who's supposed to be a good player. Scotty Middleton.
Scotty Middleton,
Yeah. So he's supposed to be good, but Berm, what are you looking at me? Devin Royal's a monster. Monster.
Jeez. Jeez, Berm.
Well, we'll bring
Man.
Berm in soon enough. Poor guy catching strays over there, but he's going to be in the hot seat soon enough. Nicole's going to go talk a lot more about basketball with Chris Holtmann, so watch that. Roosters presents the Chris Holtmann Coaches Show. Is that the official title of that show? There you go.
Thanks.
And Roosters, of course, brings you into the Horseshoe Lounge every Monday for a fun, casual conversation with us on the podcast. So, Nicole, thank you for having us.
Thanks, guys,
Thank
for
you.
having
Enjoy
me.
the rest of your day. We'll be right back with more in here at Roosters. It's a fun, casual joy.
Roosters has been so fortunate. We just want to be able to give some of that back to the community.
They donate to organizations that are near and dear to their heart, and we're so fortunate to have been with Roosters now for a long time.
They will always go above and beyond to help support our foundation to further help veterans.
It's just a wonderful feeling to know that Roosters supports the Buckeye Cruise for Cancer.
All the folks at Roosters are just genuinely kind folks, and they want to make a difference.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Thank you, Roosters.
Thank you, Roosters.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
All right, welcome back into the Horseshoe Lounge at Roosters. Berm has arrived,
Hey.
and he's got some thoughts about Devin Royal. What?
Yeah.
Boy,
he was over there chirping at the
I don't know what just happened there. Devin Royal's really good, though. I mean, so is Bryce Sensabaugh. So is Roddy Gale. There's a lot of talent here, but it doesn't matter if guys don't play together and if they're not interested in buying into the system. And I think the biggest – I know people don't really care when we talk basketball, but one of the things that's happened in the last 6-7 years for Ohio State is that there seems to be a diminishing returns when guys, the longer they're in the program, the less they seem to care, which is troublesome. And I'm not sure where that comes from. Biggest issue to me for Ohio State basketball has been and will continue to be the fact that their strength and conditioning is like way behind everyone else in the Big Ten.
I felt that for a long time.
They just don't ever get bigger from the minute they get in. I know basketball is different than football. You're not changing bodies entirely, but you look at Michigan, for example, John Sanderson, a former Ohio State basketball player who's been that guy up there for a while. Like you just see their bodies change. They get stronger. You watched the game against Michigan a week ago, and obviously Felix Akpara is a freshman and skinny. He's going to get stronger and bigger, you'd think. But you compare him to Hunter Dickinson, and Dickinson did whatever he wanted, and he did that against Zed Key as well. So obviously Zed's playing through some injuries. There's a lot of things that are wrong with that program right now. But I don't know that it's a quick fix, and I don't think that firing Chris Holtmann is the answer. I don't know that I think the problem is it's really difficult to get guys to care once you're losing the way that, and it takes just a very small thing to change. At Sunday's game against Michigan State, you're getting your doors blown off. You've pushed back. You get it to close to 5. You're down 5. You get a steal. You go down. You have a layup, and you miss it, and you're fouled egregiously, and they don't call a foul. And then Michigan State walks down the floor, hits a 3, and goes on a 9-0 run, and the game's over. And that's when you're on the edge as a competitor, and things have been really bad for a month straight. All it takes is that one little moment. And saying, oh, here we go again. Because if they make that layup and you get a foul and all of a sudden it's a 2-point game, you're on this run, the crowd, which was dead in the first half, understandably, is back into the game. And instead, Michigan State goes down, hits a 3, and it ends it. So it's just those little things. And I don't know that if it's because you have 5 freshmen playing a lot of minutes. I don't know if it's you got 10 guys that are new in the program that aren't bought into like caring about the name on the front of the jersey as much as you'd think that they would. Something just happens where you can see them just go, okay, here we go again, and they just stop caring. But that's all we need to talk about basketball.
So you brought up the strength and conditioning. I thought we would talk about winter workouts and naturals for the Buckeyes.
You like that progression?
How about that?
Last week, Zach, Jay-Z bore his soul.
Nobody called to check in on me that night either.
Well,
gosh,
I knew you would be okay. You did get a ton of people thanking you for doing that.
I saw a couple.
Yeah. Maybe that's
Did you? What happened?
Term just wanted to bring up the worst part of my life.
We talked about quarterback battles
and ask how it
not
went.
Necessarily controversy. And Berm just he took one of these and just tried to stick it into the side of Jay-Z.
No,
you just never heard
it. The side. I was dissecting it right down the middle. I wasn't in the side. He saw it coming.
I would expect nothing less from Berm.
We're in a very.
I don't know if he saw it coming.
We're in a very unique time at Ohio State where
felt it.
there's a quarterback battle that's truly a quarterback battle for the first time since 2004, and I think it's really interesting to see how that unfolded from his perspective because he didn't have what I thought was a fair shot. And I'm wondering.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the first time since 2004, though.
I don't consider the one in 2015 a real shot because you knew that Cardale was going to be the starter. Because there's no way that he was coming back if Urban didn't make him some sort of promise in the offseason that he was going to have the first crack at it.
I think when
JT was there.
It was a little bit.
It was just different.
It was different. Just a different year.
I think there was a battle because I think I think Urban obviously gave Cardale enough to come back, but I also think at the same time that those two had an understanding, knowing that they were going into it, that they were going to be flip-flopping, and whoever had the hot hand was taking it. So I do think there was somewhat of a quarterback competition because
they
you knew
didn't
you had to go
in the first month of the season. They didn't flip-flop until
I get it. Well, JT saw some time against Virginia Tech.
He had the red zone package as well. That
it was
the smashing success.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it actually did.
That was
it worked way better than the Tathan
That was a crumb
package.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to get us off topic. I was just
But it wasn't two guys who hadn't played. I guess is more to Berm's point. You know, two guys who had a blank slate.
Guys that had done something in 2017 or 2018. Dwayne had beat Michigan the year before, so he had the option. That was another similarity brought up in with Troy. He beat Michigan in 2004, and that sort of ended
the nail in the coffin
battle. But anyway, so that's irrelevant.
The point was, I thought you'd be able to do the same thing and open up your heart and your soul about those memorable workouts going into 2012.
Yeah.
What is it like to be in this offseason program with Mickey?
Well, that was different. That was was that the first year?
Yeah, it was different. Yeah. I was gonna say. I
know it's like
what those guys go through now is probably 30% of what we did, and that's maybe 30%. Yeah, what we did in 2012 might be illegal in like 48 states.
Yeah,
I mean, it was wild.
You've been out long enough. I think you can tell now.
No doubt.
It's 10 years.
I think those guys, especially with how the season ended, you had the Michigan game, and then you go to Georgia where you dominate for so much of the game, but then you can kind of tell in the fourth quarter, it just looked like they were starting to slip. And I don't know if you want to say things just didn't go your way. I don't know if you want to say guys are starting to get beat down a little bit and Georgia started to take over. Georgia are some dudes. We all know that. We can, I think you watch Georgia get off the bus, you can be like, damn, there's some dudes. But either way, Coach Mick is using the Michigan game and the Georgia game and how they finished and how they didn't play against Michigan as motivation this year. And they are working hard. Granted, that was the mindset that was last year, right? Going into this year, they said, hey, we're not physically tough enough. We've kind of pulled off the gas pedal a little bit. We're getting back into it. And so this year, more than ever, I think there's some confidence, though, knowing that they can play with Georgia and they're not that far off. I also think, though, that they realize, hey, we do need to get tougher for what we were and coming late into the season, knowing that we have to be able to run the football from a front seven on defense standpoint, have to be able to hold up with these guys. I even think you see it on the back end. How many times did we look at this year the corners just getting out physical, right? So you look across the board, there needs to be a lot of toughness that's instilled in those guys, bigger, faster, stronger, whatever it might be. So, yeah, I mean, they are getting their money's worth. I'll tell you that much. But the other exciting thing, too, is that they're bringing so many guys back and so much experience that these aren't just young dudes that have to step in and fill some big shoes. Yes, at the quarterback position, that is the case. But across the board, there are a lot of veteran guys who have been through this program that have gotten bigger, faster, stronger, contradicting what you say about the basketball program. It's different on the football program. They are getting bigger, faster, stronger. So you're seeing those guys get another year of development. There's some excitement.
It seems like 10 years in college football, the last 10 years, has been 100 years, right?
For sure.
So the change in what you guys were put through in 2012 versus what you're allowed to put guys through now even is significantly different. Doesn't that put the onus entirely on the players to ramp up the intensity? I mean, you're talking 30% of what you guys had to go through. You're not allowed to go to what you guys
5 a.m. outdoors in the snow.
So when you're talking, that was 10 years ago, right? But the mentality of the average football player has changed a lot in the last 10 years. Doesn't it become incumbent on the players to say, we're going to go harder? I mean, because what can Coach Mick really do that's different now than he did then?
There is a big ownership on the players, and I think that's where you see programs take steps, and that's where you see programs take steps back. It's the players own so much of the offseason now, where 10 years ago, the coaches own the entire offseason. There was no choice from the players. It was either you're buying in or you're out. Now it's the players get to make the decision whether they're in or out. They're going through the offseason doing NIL deals, right? I remember, God, back when I played, that winter time frame from middle of January, February, and that's when spring football didn't start till like mid-March maybe, or beginning of whatever it might be. And it was a full-blown like 12-week almost off-season where you are just grinding nonstop for 12 weeks. I mean, there are no breaks. It is pedal to the metal, full-blown. And now it's like, I don't know, what is it, like 6-week program? Now it's something way less. There's some breaks in there.
They're already halfway done.
Yeah, guys are already doing, guys are kind of going off and taking breaks here and there and doing different NIL deals. And, I mean, back when I played 10 years ago, it was full-blown football. And that's the only choice that you make. I mean, you literally lived that facility Monday through Saturday. You had sometimes two workouts
but the
in a
guys
day.
live at the facility now. They just get to golf there.
Oh, no doubt. They're just hanging out. And yeah,
well, Jay-Z juggled there.
Yeah.
We did juggle. That's where it got to by the time I was out of there.
No, I know, but I just think the offseason has changed so much. But, Berm, you're right. Now it falls so much more on the players where it used to fall on the coaches. And the coaches just kind of sitting there like, hey, if you want pushed, I'm here for it. But if you don't want pushed, I can't do anything about it.
What position do you think needs this offseason the most?
I mean, there's a couple that come to mind. Obviously, corner is certainly the one. We talked about it on the podcast daily last week when we did the positional breakdown. That position, to me, needs a physicality boost and an injection of attitude, and more than anybody else on the entire roster. You watch them, and again, I think they were okay last year. I don't think that the corners were the reasons Ohio State lost any games or played below what they could have. I think that just between injuries, between depth, that was a position that you sort of just had to take whatever was available out there, and as opposed to saying, this guy's busting his ass and you're not, so he's going to play in front of you. I think they just had no option but to just run out whoever who had two functioning legs.
Yeah.
And I think that
or 1.5,
or 1.5 in some cases, whatever the most amount of legs was, whoever had the most legs. I just think that has to change, and you need guys who are just bad at the position to go out there and say, hey, this is my spot, and I'm going to take it from somebody if they think they're in front of me. And they have that, to me, is the position that changes the entire attitude of a defense. If you have corners that are just bad dudes and you know that they're going to take care of their business, you watch the way that, like, not maybe the best example because they got their defense played like trash on Sunday, but the Eagles all year were they just let their corners go and said, we're gonna go get the quarterback because our corners are going to do their job. And certainly that's how you win in college football.
Yeah. There's 3 position groups that jump out to me, and all for different reasons. I think cornerback, obviously, because they're the position group that, in my opinion, performed the worst this past year. So they obviously need a change up in the way they go about things. Berm brought up, just bad dudes that come in there and say, hey, I'm physically gifted. I'm going to work my tail off. There's no one that's going to beat me. They need that kind of reset this offseason. And hopefully I think they might get that with some of those true freshmen that are coming in here. They're going to bring that attitude. Next one's defensive line, just because I think there were times where a lot of those guys think they're first rounders when they're not. There's a lot of times where those guys were getting manhandled. You look at the Michigan game, manhandled. You look at Georgia late in the game, they were starting to get some running game going. There's just, those guys need that next level conditioning and toughness. And then obviously the one that I think just needs it, because they're probably going to be the newest group with the newest combinations, the offensive line. Mm-hmm. I think they're tough dudes. I think they played so much better last year than they did the previous year. But you're replacing, really 3 guys, on the offensive line. So there needs to be some kind of off-season toughness mentality that you bond when you're in that weight room at 6 a.m. and you're grinding your face off. Like there's some continuity that's built there. And so those 3 position groups are the big ones in my mind.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, Zach, how you thought, because if you talk about quarterbacks and receivers needing to be on the same page, like winter workouts don't necessarily do that for you. You know what I'm saying? It's more spring football. So as a defensive player, though, I was just going to ask you, and these winter workouts are different than what I went through. Yeah. They have you guys competing more against head to head. Like we were just more going. We had some competition, but it was more just getting through the drills and doing conditioning. As a defensive player, as this corner, the corners, is it a mindset that you can go through these winter workouts and maybe come out going into spring saying, I'm the big dog in this room, or I feel like I'm going to go out and I'm going to wreck this spring ball as corner. I'm going to be a lockdown guy. As a defensive lineman, can they say, I've went through this winter workout. I am ready to wreck spring ball. Yeah. As a quarterback, I say, I need to throw routes. I need to get on that page with these guys. The mentality maybe is different for defensive players.
Well, I think the one thing that's changed since Coach Mick came to Ohio State is in the offseason, everything is competition, right? Everything is charted out, who won, who lost. You have, back when 10 years ago, you had a matchup every week. And it was, from a linebacker standpoint, it was either a running back or linebacker that you were matched up with. You're, going head to head. As a corner, and even, maybe not so much a receiver, because, there's 3 receivers that play, maybe 4 or 5 in the rotation. You got to make a play on the ball. But as a corner, you could go through winter workouts and leave winter workouts before even going to the spring ball, almost feeling like, hey, I'm on my way to winning the starting job, right? If you're in there and you're competing and doing the things from an agility standpoint, from a mental toughness standpoint, from doing all these things, you can literally leave winter workouts like, I got a foot up on the competition. I don't have to wait for spring football to come around.
You can get that mentality in your head.
I can get the mentality like, hey, I'm at the front of the line right now, boys. Look what I'm doing. I put down that person. I took down that person. And you can go down the line and be like, I'm first in line now. Yeah. When spring football comes, I'm jumping out there first. And you can literally get that confidence that's built in winter workouts, which is way different from,
Well, for me, it's like, well, all right, well, I beat Troy in this. Yeah. Sweet. We still got to go out and run a play and throw the ball or do, whatever else.
Well, I think the other thing is that, and this is my opinion, I don't know anything about this, but I think if Ohio State truly, on the defense side of the ball, really wanted to take the next step, this is also a big time for people to make some changes. Like, in my opinion, love Jack Sawyer, Pickerington guy, great dude, right? But in my opinion, I think this is a time where if I'm Larry Johnson, if I'm Jack Sawyer, if I'm Jim Knowles, and I know what's best for this defense, I'm making Jack Sawyer. I mean, Jack's every bit of 265, right? I'm making him gain another 15 to 20 pounds, and I'm turning him into a 3 technique. Nothing against Jack at defensive end position, but the dude is a big dude, and he's so strong when it comes to his hands, from bull rushing, from things like that. He's just not made up to be a defensive end, right? He's not made up to be the Jack. He goes to the NFL. I'm thinking my position, I want to be J.J. Watt, right? I want to go to a 3-4 defense and be the 5 tech. That's got Jack Sawyer written all over it. Well, guess what? You're not going to do that playing defensive end in this system right now, especially with JTT at that true defensive end position. So if I'm Jack Sawyer, I'm like, J.J. Watt, 6'6", 285, right? Jack Sawyer is not far off from that. From a height standpoint, he gains another 15, 20 pounds and goes and plays that 3 tech at Ohio State and starts dominating dudes, where probably he's got more favorable matchups than going against long offensive tackles, because Jack's not a speed guy. Jack's not, I hate to say it, not a quickness, agile guy. He is a strong dude that wants to hit you in the face, right? And what's his best move when he makes plays at defensive end? It's the bull rush, right? So guess what? Add another 20 pounds, get strong, go play the 3 technique. That's when you make those changes right now. Now, do I think that's happening? No. Do I think it should?
Well, they're arguing about just keeping him on the defensive line. You know?
There's so much mental changes that have to happen as far as, we talked about it all last week. Larry Johnson and Jim Knowles, there was some conversation when we had the team media day 2 weeks ago about where Jack should be playing. And Larry clearly wants him back on the defensive line full time, whether that's at the edge or whatever. Knowles wants him at the Jack. Who cares? We know that's number one. Ohio State has 1 defensive end right now, so they're going to figure that out in the spring anyway. Another position I've been thinking about is the safety position, because that position, you have some of the most physically ready guys in the entire program, as far as Josh Proctor, as Sonny Styles, Kai Stokes, Lathan Ransom. But that room right now, I think from a head perspective, needs a little bit of work. And you have a lot of guys who probably are a little bit deeper in their psyche than they want to be about 1 or 2 plays that cost them last year. A couple guys saying, hey, where do I fit in? Another guy, with someone like Josh Proctor saying, hey, how do I get back to being that guy? That room is the difference maker for the Ohio State defense, in my opinion.
For sure.
And we watched them go from lauded in the first half of the season last year to being the absolute GOAT at the end of this. And I don't mean the greatest of all time. I mean the GOAT at the end of the year, because the Michigan game, you had Cam Martinez miss an assignment and give up a big touchdown. Obviously, Georgia, you have Lathan Ransom in a position he should never be in, but slipping and falling on a double move against one
giving opponents additional touchdowns.
Well, yeah, that's the position you don't want to be in.
That's GOAT.
But
very nice.
That's pretty much what that was. So I appreciate you spending a moment there to bring that out. I just think that room, if you're talking about who this spring is the most important for, I think it's those guys and the corners, because it is a mental game for Jordan Hancock, for Denzel Burke, for Josh Proctor, for Lathan Ransom, for Cam Martinez. These guys have to.
But at the same time, you just rattled off a whole bunch of dudes that if they are performing the way that they should be, right, from how talented they are, that's the deepest room there is, maybe more so than the wide receiver room,
that's
right?
What I'm saying. This is a mental.
It's a mental thing. But then you also start talking about, okay, where do guys see the playing field? There's going to be 3 safeties that see the field. We know that, right? You named off in the safety room. There's probably 6 dudes that could really play at Ohio State and are talented enough to play and be NFL draft picks. So
that's why this spring is so important, because Ohio State, despite having all that depth, went out and brought in Davison Igbinosun from Ole Miss as a potential starter at corner, and Jahad Carter from Syracuse as a potential starter at safety. So now the mental trouble you're having, oh God, I couldn't get over this play. Now all of a sudden you better get over that play, because someone else just was brought in that is trying to take your job. So if you aren't able to put that behind you, this spring is you're writing your own ticket out of town.
I get that, but I think it's also forcing some guys' hands. I just talked about some position changes, and I could go on and on about how I think Jack Sawyer is better suited for a 3-tech, and I think Ohio State needs some depth at the defensive line position. So you put him at a 3-tech, but then you start talking about the Jack. Guess what? You got C.J. Hicks there, who's very talented, but I tell you this much: there's no way he's playing over Tommy Eichenberg and Steel Chambers. So if that's a dude that wants to go into the Jack, and that's a dude that probably needs to be weighing 225, 230, right? And that's what he's at. I know, but if he puts on a little bit more weight, not even 15 more, right? Because if anything happens to those guys, he's got to slide back into it. But if that's a guy who's comfortably at that 225, 230 mark, and then guess what, can get up into the 240 range, maybe going in the fall camp, knowing I can play Jack, I can slide back in the linebacker. But then you even talk about Sonny Styles, right? Sonny Styles, in my opinion, should be great up in that Jack position, an extra person in the box. The dude needs to put on some weight.
Isn't it like basically drama class in high school? You just there's a wall there. They have all the roles on the and you just put your name on what you want to audition for, and then go ahead this spring and see if you're going to be Cinderella or not.
I think there's a problem with letting them pick.
Really?
But,
I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I say, hey, these guys watched the defense a year ago. There's a lot of guys that didn't get to play. If you say, hey, this is where I think I'd be best, why not just go put your name on the board and say, give me a shot, coach.
But some of the guys
tryouts on Thursday.
Yeah, but some of those guys need that pushing. Like you know, if CJ Hicks really wants to do that, like you said, yeah, he's 225, but he's putting in effort to be at 225 too. No doubt, right? But he needs to be there comfortably, right? Like not eating all the calories 225. And so, but even Sonny Styles, if Sonny Styles like, man, I need to get in the linebacker Jack room, he can't be the dude that's keeping his weight where he's at right now, you know?
That's the other fun subplot of being in the off-season program, trying to figure out what your weight needs to be. And they've got 3 more weeks to do it, if you can believe it or not. Spring ball starts in the first week of March on a Tuesday, 3 weeks from tomorrow. Looking forward to getting, like, Super Bowl's yesterday. Spring ball's right around the corner.
Right around the corner.
You know what I love the most about the Super Bowl? Can I just have one moment?
Sure.
Patrick Mahomes faking an ankle injury is one of the weirdest. Like, you're the best quarterback in the NFL. Why do you need to fake an injury and act like every time you get tackled, all of a sudden you can't walk, and then 3 minutes later you're running down the field like you're totally fine? Get over it.
Did he fake it?
Of course he faked it.
Do we know he faked it?
Right before halftime.
You couldn't walk. You couldn't move.
Oh, gosh.
But he didn't go back. He didn't go.
I don't think things were going bad for them, and it was like I felt like he was setting his excuse up.
He fakes. He sets it up.
He did that in the one where he originally got hurt. He did the same thing.
You're the best quarterback.
Herm has
in
a
the
lot
league.
of conspiracy theories. I don't like to get on board with all of them. But this I'm set.
It's
I
totally
get what
made
you're
up.
saying, and I'm probably the least Patrick Mahomes fan up here out of all 4 of you guys. Not a fan whatsoever. But here's what I do know. It happened right before halftime, and there are some magic things. There are some magic things and needles that can be poked into you that makes things a lot better for the time being. So that's all I'm saying. It could have happened from that standpoint
it's just
fire in a needle. You ever heard of that? You don't feel anything. You're Superman.
Dude, he's goosing it a little bit, okay?
Well, it's gamesmanship. He wants the defense to think he's hobbled and he can't run around, and then he goes out and gets after it.
He wants
fire in a needle.
He wants his flu game so bad that he's just created an ankle injury. He's goosing it a little bit. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
They're goosed.
At least he kept his brother in check this year. That's all I cared about.
No, there's some stuff that came out.
Well,
yeah.
But I didn't see him much of the year.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I think the rest.
I want to be clear. He's the best quarterback. He's the best quarterback in the NFL. I'm not saying he's not.
I don't think he is.
You think he's the best?
I think he's the best.
I don't think he is. I think he has the best offensive coaching staff and the best weapons. A combination of those two.
He's really,
I don't
really,
think he has the best
really
weapons.
good.
I think he obviously has the best offensive coaching staff, but he does what he has to do and is very good at it, and gets a lot of help from the NFL in a way. But whatever.
Yeah, he does.
Sure does.
Whatever.
Well, we don't have to keep talking about that or anything else. We can wrap it up in Roosters this week in the Horseshoe Lounge. We appreciate Nicole for having us back. We've got a lot more Ohio State football coming as spring ball gets within 3 weeks. So we'll start ramping that up and stop talking about the Super Bowl and Rihanna. But the day after, you got to do a little bit of that. That's Jay-Z, Zach, Berm. I'm Austin. Thanks for joining us again on a Monday at Roosters. It's a fun, casual joint. We will see you next week.